Where's that at?
Jacksonville.
Okay. Just making sure because there's other Jacksonvilles.
Right, Mississippi.
I found that out when I booked the flight one day. Is there a Jacksonville, North Carolina too? That's what I thought, yeah.
And then I think it's a Springfield in every state.
I think so, yeah. All right, Green, this is your car right here. Zach will be coming to get you in just a second. All right, we're on the ramp. Any folks? Follow me, everyone. Alright, you'll be right here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's not checked in, but I don't think it's in the line.
Come here. Per order of the Hamilton County Department of Health, while on the train at all times, passengers are required to wear a face covering, correctly covering the mouth and nose, and please stay seated in the seats assigned to you by the train crew at all times to allow for social distancing. Those of you that have not visited with us before, we are what is considered a historic railroad. We're a museum, not a scenic railway, meaning our focus is going to be the history of the line and the equipment rather than what you see out the window. This trip in particular will be approximately 1 hour long. It will include 15 minutes of travel in each direction on the 3 miles of track donated by the Southern Railway and a 20 to 25 minute layover in East Chattanooga, where we will turn the engine around on our turntable 180 degrees for the return trip. You're riding on one of the first railroads into Chattanooga today. This line was completed in 1859 by the East Tennessee and Georgia Railroad. The ET&G would merge with a number of other railroads over time to become the famous Southern Railway in 1894. The Southern would continue to use this 3 mile stretch of track until they abandoned it in the 1950s for reasons I'll explain later in our journey. They built a new line to the north, which you can see to the right of the train now according to our direction of travel up on that embankment there. That line is still used today by the Southern Railway's successor, the Norfolk Southern Corporation. Then, of course, after the Southern Railway abandoned this line, they would donate a 3 mile stretch to us here at the museum, which of course is what we operate on today. Now a bit about the coaches you're riding in today. Those of you with a red wristband are in Coach 661, built in 1947 by the American Car and Foundry, or ACF, for the Central of Georgia Railroad. Those of you with a green wristband are in Coach 906, built in 1924 by the Pullman Company for the Central of Georgia Railroad. Yellow, you're in the 907, built in 1947 by the American Car and Foundry, also for the Central of Georgia Railroad. And lastly, blue, you're in Coach 857, built in 1947 as well by the Budd Company for the Richmond, Fredericksburg, and Potomac Railroad. Now to the left, you'll see a gravel road. That gravel road down there is the roadbed for the original 1859 right-of-way. The line was elevated to its current height and position in the first decade of the 20th century by the Southern Railway due to numerous occasions of flooding. Chattanooga used to be extremely prone to flooding before the construction of the Chickamauga Dam during the Great Depression. As an example of this flooding on the left here soon, you'll see a sign. Next to that sign is a tree with a yellow line painted on it. That yellow line represents the high water mark from the Great Flood of 1867. At 9 feet above the track, it explains why this line had to be elevated. We're now crossing our first bridge over South Chickamauga Creek. To the left, you may have noticed a set of stone piers just below us in the water there. Those stone piers mark the site of the original bridge. On top of those stone piers would have been a wooden decking that the rails would have run on. The original bridge in that location was made entirely of stone and was washed away in a flood in 1861. Unfortunately, an engineer did not see that that bridge had washed away in time, and, well, let's just say he and his train went for a swim. We're about to cross our second bridge over the Western and Atlantic Railroad. This line you'll see below us here is the first line into Chattanooga, being completed by the state of Georgia in 1850. That line runs from Atlanta to Chattanooga and is still owned by the state of Georgia today. They currently lease it out to CSX. That line is also home to a very famous story from the Civil War. Some of you may have heard of it, and that would be the Great Locomotive Chase. For those of you that have not heard of it, the Great Locomotive Chase is the story of Union spy James Andrews and 23 others known as the Andrews Raiders. They disguised themselves as civilians and made their way to Big Shanty, Georgia, which is today Kennesaw, Georgia, and stole a locomotive named General while it was on a fuel, water, and mill stop. They planned to race the General all the way north to Chattanooga while burning bridges and destroying track and telegraph wires along the way in an effort to sever the crucial Confederate supply artery. They were pursued by the General's conductor, William Fuller, and a locomotive he commandeered named the Texas. The Texas was facing south, so for the duration of that chase, he had to run the locomotive in reverse. The General ran out of fuel north of Ringgold, Georgia, about 18 miles down the track from Chattanooga. All the men were caught. 8 of them, including Andrews himself, were unfortunately hung in Atlanta. They are today buried at the Chattanooga National Cemetery around a bronze replica of the General, just a few miles from our current location. The rest of the men either escaped prison or were exchanged for Confederate prisoners. Andrews Raiders were the very first to ever receive the Medal of Honor, but Andrews himself did not, as he was a civilian and not eligible. If you'd like to know more on the topic, there are many books and films based on the event, including Buster Keaton's silent film The General, and one of Walt Disney's lesser-known films from the 50s, also titled The Great Locomotive Chase. Both locomotives involved in that chase are still preserved today. The Texas is on display at the Atlantic History Center in Atlanta, Georgia, and the General is on display at the Southern Museum of Civil War and Locomotive History in Kennesaw, Georgia. For those of you with a green wristband and Coach 906, you may have noticed that midway through this car there is a wall that separates the two halves of the coach. That is because when this coach was built, it was known as a Jim Crow car, used during the era of segregation. When the Interstate Commerce Commission desegregated the railroads in 1955, most cars of this type would have those walls removed, but for some reason this one here was kept intact. We're not really sure why it was. After we acquired the car, we then made the decision to preserve the wall in its original condition as a reminder of a horrible time in our nation's past. Use it as a teaching tool. We are a museum after all. It is believed to be that this coach is the only operating coach in the world today that has that wall still preserved. We're about to cross our third bridge over Tunnel Boulevard. Originally, this road you'll see here would have tunneled underneath the railroad, hence the name. When the Southern Railway abandoned this line in the 50s, the roof of the tunnel was opened up to avoid maintenance costs. After the land was donated to us, we put a bridge over that gap, so today we have a tunnel boulevard without a tunnel. It's also the only place we can legally run over cars. Now to the right of the train, I'll point out some of my favorite trees along the route here. There's this one, and this one. Oh, and this one here with the leaves on it. We're not making our climb up Missionary Ridge, but rather than travel over it, we are going to travel through it, through the Missionary Ridge Tunnel, also known as the Whiteside Tunnel. This tunnel is 986 feet long, about the length of 3 football fields. It was completed in 1858, dedicated in 1859, and was excavated entirely by pick and shovel, as dynamite was not invented until 1867. So I guess you could say it went off without a bang. This tunnel was excavated from both ends of the ridge, meeting in the middle. When both portals did meet in the middle, they were only off center from one another by 3 inches. During World War II, this tunnel would see as many as 70 trains a day. This tunnel is the reason that this line was eventually abandoned. After World War II, the railway's equipment was becoming too large to fit the pre-Civil War era tunnel. Also, at the time, the tunnel was single-tracked, while the rest of the line was double-tracked, creating a major bottleneck. So that new line was built just to the north and bypasses the ridge altogether. If you have a flashlight app on your cell phones, I do encourage you to get those out at this time to shine them out the windows and illuminate the tunnel walls as we pass through so you can view them. While in the tunnel, you may notice we are very close to the tunnel walls, and there is indeed at times less than 10 inches of clearance between us and those walls. That was the whistle of our locomotive you just heard, signaling our approach to the tunnel, meaning we will be entering the tunnel at any moment. So I hope no one on board is scared of the dark.
Chattanooga, Tennessee. That's right, folks. It's the tunnel, Victor.
It's the tunnel.
That's right.
I got it.
Delta planes don't go through here.
No, I don't think I can get a plane through here.
We're now on the west side of Missionary Ridge. You can imagine traveling on a Southern Railway passenger train in the early 20th century, as this is how you would have approached downtown Chattanooga. Right to that tunnel there, with your final destination being Terminal Station, which has today been converted into the Chattanooga Choo Choo Hotel. Of course, passenger trains back then would have consisted of more than just passenger coaches. For example, there might have been a baggage car, an RPO car, sleeping car, lounge car, on some trains even a dome car or an observation car. Then on most trains was my favorite, the dining car. Speaking of dining car, who knows how a steam locomotive eats? It choo-choo-choos. No, we've almost reached the end of the 3 miles of track donated by the Southern Railway. So in about 5 minutes or so, we're going to be coming to a stop at our East Chattanooga depot. Once there, you have the option of either staying on board the train for the layover, or joining me as we do a demonstration of our turntable as we spin the locomotive around 180 degrees for the return to Grand Junction. Now, I do highly encourage everyone to join me for this demonstration, as this is one of the only places left in the world where you can still see what's about to take place. So if you stay on the train, you're going to be missing quite a bit of the experience. If anyone needs to use the restroom while we're here at East Chattanooga, there will be restrooms available in the depot to the right of the train once we get stopped. Please do remain seated once we come to a complete stop. We'll be unloading the train by your wristband color, so please wait until your wristband color is called. Once you do exit the train, take a left turn down the stairway or the ramp, follow that pathway down to the turntable, and after we have everyone gathered around the turntable, we will begin the demonstration. Now before we get there, I am also required to state per order of the Hamilton County Department of Health, while at the turntable, please keep a 6-foot distance from those other parties around you, and when returning to the train, please return to the same car and seat you were in at this time. So please take note of your car color. Should be that color on your wristband. And then if you, depending on the car, if you look above the windows or up on the baggage racks, you will find your seat numbers. We will need you to return to those same seats. When this museum was first founded in 1961, the Southern Railway originally only donated 1.5 miles of track, and that track began right here in East Chattanooga. So if you were to visit the museum in the first 2 decades of our operation, this is where you would have come to get on the trains. You would have then ridden 1.5 miles to the other side of the tunnel and then reversed back. In the 80s, the Southern Railway did donate another 1.5 miles of track for a total of 3 miles overall. That also allowed us to extend out to the Grand Junction site. We then converted Grand Junction to the main museum campus and converted this side of the property into what I like to call the industrial side, where all the manual labor takes place that is required to ensure the continued operation of the railroad. This large building you see to the left of our train here, that is a building we inherited with this property when it was donated. We currently use the building as a warehouse. There's many artifacts stored within those walls. After we get around the warehouse, to the left you'll see another large building in the distance. It'll say Tennessee Valley Railroad Soul Shop on the front. That building is the back shop where all of our repairs, maintenance, and restorations do take place. Everything you're riding on today has been restored in that very building. As we pull through the gates here in the East Chattanooga yard, to the left next to the fence here pretty soon you'll see a large pile of coal. That coal is of course the fuel source for the locomotive pulling our train today. Now please excuse the decorations at the moment. We are currently in the process of decorating our train and the property for our upcoming North Pole Limited, but it is not completed yet. So in location you may see some half-finished decorations. We're currently working on those Monday through Friday.
right, Dave. Yep. I guess we're going that way, Dave.
Sir?
That way or this?
It doesn't matter.
Oh, no,
You wanna go to the
okay.
ramp? Yeah.
All right.
Alright everyone, welcome to East Chattanooga. As you can see here, we have reached the end of the line. So we're going to pull the locomotive onto this turntable and spin it around 180 degrees for the return trip to Grand Junction. This table you're looking at here was constructed in 1916 by the American Bridge Company and was used by the Central of Georgia Railroad in Macon, Georgia at the Roundhouse. That is up until 1925 when it was sold to a branch line based out of Cedartown, Georgia. In Cedartown, it was used in a very similar fashion to how we're using it here today. Of course, we acquired it in the 80s due to this location, and we've been using it here ever since. This table is 80 feet long, and it weighs in at 80 tons. Keep in mind, the average school bus only weighs about 6 or 7 tons. That locomotive right there weighs in at 215 tons. So when it's on the table here, the overall weight between the two will be sitting very close to 300 tons. So it may surprise you to know that this table was originally turned by hand. It was an Armstrong table. There would have been poles extending off each end, and it would have taken 4 people to push the poles to spin the table around. Do we have any volunteers? We're going to need 4. We got 1, 2, I need 2 more, 3, and 4. Come on over. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Sorry, we're not allowed to do that anymore. Now, for safety reasons today, we just use a small 25 horsepower motor under the operator's shed here that our conductor, Dave, will be operating.
Hi, Dave.
Now, the locomotive pulling our train today is the Southern Railway 4501, built in 1911 by the Malden Locomotive Works in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Okay. 1911, by the Malden Locomotive Works in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It was built for the Southern Railway as a mainline freight locomotive. It was retired from the Southern Railway in 1948. At that time, it was sold to the Kentucky and Tennessee Railway in Stearns, Kentucky, to be used in a coal drag service, bringing coal down from the mines to the Southern Railway interchange. Again, it was retired from that railroad and then purchased by one of our co-founders here at the museum, Paul Merriman, for $5,000 of his own cash, brought to Chattanooga under his own power in the 60s, and has been in operation both here at the museum and on mainline excursions on and off ever since. This was the first piece of equipment ever acquired by the museum, and to this day, it is still the most famous piece of equipment we have in our collection. This locomotive is a 282 Mikado, meaning it has 2 small pilot wheels in the front to guide it around curves, the 8 large driving wheels in the middle for power, and the 2 trailing wheels under the cab and firebox to support the heavier weight of that firebox. This was the first 282 ever purchased by the Southern Railway, and ironically enough, it is the only Southern Railway 282 that survives today of the hundreds they would have go on to purchase. This locomotive operates at 205 psi, it has 63-inch diameter driving wheels, and it produces 53,900 pounds of tractive effort, which is the equivalent of about 2,500 horsepower. Now, once we get the locomotive completely on the table, you'll notice that while the wheelbase of the locomotive does go on the table, the locomotive itself is longer than the table, extending off both inside just a few feet. So that means if you're at that yellow line before we start spinning around, I'm going to need you to take an extra step or two back to the front cover, which does not kind of give you a slap on the way around. Again, look up in the cab, you'll see our engineer, Andrew. He's responsible for operating the locomotive and getting us here and back safely today. So everyone go ahead and give them a wave. The way this locomotive operates, up in the cab there, our fireman Ricky is feeding 3 6 tons of coal a day into the firebox where it is burning. On the front side of the firebox, there are a series of tubes that are of the boiler, those are called the flutes. The hot gas, the now, surrounding the flutes on the firebox is water, and water is and that exhausting steam is what creates the exciting side fuel in the steam locomotive. So long as they will up to the correct track today, we still have to use the original method, and that would be the antique method of eyesight. If you look up on the fireman side of the cab, you'll see our fireman Ricky. She is responsible for feeding that fire, as well as maintaining the water level in the boiler to produce the steam this engine operates on. Without her, we would not be going anywhere, so give her a wave as well. Now, we are very often involved, well, you've probably seen our property and equipment before, is we are often involved in film and music video production. For example, we've helped both Johnny Cash and George Turner produce music videos at our property here. And in particular, this locomotive has been involved in a film called October Sky, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Laura Dern. And the property and other equipment here, we've been involved in films such as Leatherhead with George Clooney, Water for Elephants with Robert Pattinson and Reese Witherspoon, and most recently 42, with Chadwick Boseman and Harrison Ford. And of course, just about on a yearly basis, we do get documentaries filmed here for places like the Travel Channel and the History Channel, and children's shows filming episodes as well. Now, as you can see, while our train currently sits on track 1, we've lined the locomotive up with track 2. That is so we can do a runaround. What that means is the locomotive is going to go past our train and then through a switch. It will then reverse through the switch back into track 1 to hook up to the opposite end of the train. So what was the front is now the back end and vice versa. But before we do hook up the locomotive, they're going to pull it up next to our train there and then pull up a hose from over near the shop and add some water to the tender, because of course these things have to have water to produce the steam they run on. And technically we have enough to make it through the rest of the day, but the problem is the weight on the engine. This turntable is a balanced turntable, and if the engine uses water out the tender throughout the day, the center of gravity shifts further and further forward on the engine, which means we can't balance the table, henceforth we can't turn the table. We want to be able to turn the table on our next trip as well. So we're going to take on a little bit, probably about 3,000 gallons of water or so in the back of that tin or two, even out the weight of the locomotive. Should take about 5 minutes or so. Now that we've completed turning the locomotive around while it's getting some water, if anyone has any questions, feel free to come up and ask me at this time. I'll be happy to answer those questions for you. For those of you without questions, you can go ahead and start making your way back to the train for the return trip to Grand Junction. Please make sure you do return to the same car and seat you rode in all the way over. Also, once you're on board the train, you'll be able to see them taking on water out the what will be the right side of the train on the way back. And one last reminder, if anyone needs to use the restroom, there are restrooms available in the depot there next to the train, and I will see you back on board.
Very nice. Very nice. Indeed.
Look cute. Smile. Smile. Like you're doing your school picture.
Good.
Roger's good. Okay, Dex, you okay?
I'm good, David.
All right, so boy, that's a fancy outfit. Ooh.
Thanks.
This guy.
Yes, everyone, we're going back in the tunnel.
Back in the tunnel.
That's right, back in the tunnel. this time we are arriving back at Grand Junction Station. We do thank everyone for riding with us today at the Tennessee Railroad Museum and hope you enjoyed your excursion. Of course, if you'd like to join us again for longer trips in the future, we offer many other trips ranging from 1 hour to 9 hours long. You can find more information on those trips on our website at tvrail.com. If you would like to see the locomotive turn around for our next trip, it will be doing so using the Y, the triangular-shaped junction of tracks surrounding the station. If you go to the front side of the station, that's a great area to watch that take place from. We'll also be parking the locomotive for about 5 minutes or so at the pedestrian crossing in front of the station for you to get a closer look at it, take some photos of it, or with it if you want to take that opportunity. And I'll also be taking care of getting the locomotive hooked back up to the other end of the train if you want to see that after we have it parked there for 5 minutes after we move it again. If you go back into the station, if you're looking for recommendations, the gift shop does have a feature-length documentary available titled And Then There Was One. It is the full history of the locomotive that has pulled your train today in movie format. Please make sure you don't forget any personal items before departing the train, such as hats, glasses, keys, wallets, purses, cell phones, husbands, wives, and kids. If you enjoyed the trip today, my name is Zach with an H, but if you did not enjoy it, in that case, my name is Zach with a K.
Oh, let's go down. Oh, what was that?
Oh, it's for your back. Oh, got it.
Year number 3.
I was wondering what the little buttons was for.
If you have a green wristband,
That's what I was
That's what. Oh, this is for this.
Yeah, for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like an airplane, but with more room.
Yeah. Exactly.
Up that up.
Oh, I do like your shirt.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. That was fun.
That's nice.
That was the best day ever.
Thank you.
How'd you like the short and sweet?
All right, David. Good to see you, buddy. Thank you. I will. I hope they do. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, y'all are good.
I'm good.
after we step on later, let's bring it back 50 feet to a couple.
Bye.